I know that I have been severely MIA from vlogging. I know that I said that I originally set up this channel to be able to put up videos regarding my prep, to document it for someone who might need it, or actually documentation for myself as well, so that I have something to reference to when I do my future preps. But I actually underestimated how much time and effort and commitment it would take to regularly put out content while on prep, and with all the other stuff that has been happening these past couple of months, you know, my kids getting sick and their birthdays passing, and we've also launched a few small businesses which have been taking a lot of my time and attention, and I just really didn't think that it would be very difficult to film. I mean, if you're vlogging, you know that it's not just as simple as, you know, sitting in front of the camera. There's like editing involved and all of the other work. So we will try to rectify that, and I realized that I've only put up one video related to this prep, but yeah, so we'll try to fix that, and I will try to give you a summary of what I've been up to regarding my upcoming competition. Again, this will be in November 11. That's the Shawn Rhoden Classic. So officially we are approaching 5 weeks out. So to start with, here's a physique update for you. We're gonna do now is try and cover the past couple of weeks that I haven't been able to put out a video, but I do have my logs with me. So if you see me looking down, I'm only looking at my laptop, because that's where I keep a record of each and every one of the adjustments that we have been making regarding my nutrition, my training, cardio, supplementation, and all of that. So I will be referring to my file as I make this video. Now, we started out at maintenance calories of 1,800, and that's like doing 5 training sessions a week, 5 lifting sessions, and 0 cardio going into the prep. Now, keep in mind that does seem kind of low, but I'm 5 feet flat, and I'm a very small person, so I don't really need like a lot of calories to survive every day. And at the beginning, I didn't really have a lot of muscle mass anyway. So yeah, so 1,800 calories. And what we had done was to drop my calories by around 200-ish every 3 to 4 weeks. And if you're someone who's ever dieted before, you know that at the beginning of a diet, it's easier to see the weight and the body fat drop, only because your body isn't used to those adjustments yet. So it hasn't adapted. Your metabolism hasn't adapted yet. So it's easier to see changes. They come in more quicker, and the progression is more linear in the beginning. So we didn't really have a lot of need to keep on making changes. Now, at about the 6th week mark, that's about the time that I did my video on the ketogenic diet that I tried for around 3 to 4 weeks. Now, I am going to correct myself by saying that it was not a true ketogenic diet, because a true ketogenic diet, you have around 70% of fats, moderate amount of protein, and really minimal amount of carbs, like trace amounts from veggies and the other protein sources that you use. But during that time that I was doing that low carb diet, which is really what it was, actually had a high amount of protein. And I realize now that that's one of the reasons why I saw a lot of drop in body fat, not really the ketogenic nature of the diet itself, because I'm not even sure if I was in ketosis, since I didn't really get to test myself with the ketone strips. But yeah, eliminating carbs in conjunction with a high amount of protein was what probably, well, most likely helped me drop a lot of the body fat around that point. So I did that from around week 6 to 10 of my prep, and at about around that time I leaned out a lot, as I said in that update video. And because of that, we saw that I didn't really have a lot of muscle mass yet. So my coach decided to up my calorie intake so we could support an increase, well, not an increase, well, yeah, an increase in the intensity of my training, so I could try to put on a bit more muscle mass. So around the 11-week mark of my prep, we actually started going up in calories again, from 1300 to about 14 to 1450-ish calories, averaging out each week. And yeah, that helped support the increase in the intensity of my training. And we also started to be more conscious about my sodium intake, because I don't know, I'm gonna touch up on this very quickly. A lot of people say that when you feel bloated, you have to eliminate your sodium, but really, when you increase your sodium, you're teaching your body to be more effective at eliminating it. So when you drastically lower your sodium, or even, you know, stop salting your foods, you're actually teaching your body to not be efficient with eliminating it. So what you really have to do when you're feeling bloated and all of that is to just increase your water intake. And the only other reason why sodium is kind of demonized is because typically you find it in unhealthy foods such as fast food, but sodium in itself is not inherently bad. So yeah, anyway, so I tried tracking my sodium intake then, and I was really taking in half of what I should be. So I started adding in stuff like soy sauce, and really keeping an eye out for the amount of salt that I was adding to my food. Well, actually my husband was the one prepping our meals, so he was the one who had to be conscious about the salt that was added. Now about the 18th week, we had to start dropping calories by about 70 to 100 every 1 to 2 weeks, because I hit a lot of sticking points at this time, and my body already started to adapt to the low calories. So you could say that my metabolism was already starting to slow down, which was expected. You know, it's a natural survival mechanism of the body. I mean, to keep up with the physical demands of continuously training and adding in cardio, you know, it tends to be efficient at keeping or holding on to that body fat, which is why any drops in body fat or weight slows down. So if you're someone who has been dieting for a really long time and you start to stall, that's one of the reasons why. It's because your body has started to adapt, which again, that's like totally normal. Now what we also did was started to increase HIIT sessions. So the kind of HIIT sessions that I like doing are incline sprints on a treadmill, and I do it, my coach actually suggested the Tabata style of intervals, so getting on the sprint or sprinting for like 10 to 15 seconds, and that's like an all-out puke dry heaving level of sprinting, and then rest for like 30 seconds or 20 seconds as well, and then hop on the treadmill again and start sprinting. But I find that what's really more effective for me is doing like true HIIT, where you really go all out in a sprint and then let your heart rate get down to its real resting state. So even if that takes around 3 to 5 minutes, that's the kind of HIIT that I prefer. I just find that I can go all out on my sprints better than if I force it after a shorter rest period. Now so we started doing 3, is that right? Yeah, 3 HIIT sessions, and started increasing my steady state cardio every day. And yeah, so at around 20 weeks, so this was around 2 to 3 weeks ago, we also started to increase my fiber, and that was something that I never really tracked. And admittedly, I'm not a big vegetable eater until recently, only because, you know, I'm trying to increase the volume of my food relative to my low calories, so I end up, you know, eating a lot of leaves, and as a consequence my fiber intake increased on its own. But really I wasn't conscious about that. That wasn't something that I was looking at in like ever. So yeah, when I did try to track it, I was falling short on my fiber, and my coach suggested to increase it, is that right? Yeah, increase it to about 20 grams per day. Also because, like protein, fiber is also satiating, so it slows down your digestion, which is why you feel fuller even if you eat just a small amount of food. Now the problem that I encountered with that was, because I wasn't used to eating that much fiber, increasing it by a lot, almost like overnight, had me ending up feeling really bloated. And it wasn't like just a feeling of bloat, it was really like I actually looked bloated. I looked the part. So I would take pictures at night, and just out of curiosity, and I would really like see this dented part of my belly, which would be totally gone by the morning. So I know that it was water and not, you know, not fat. So I pulled back on the fiber from 20 grams and brought it down to 15. So there was still a slight increase compared to the amount that I was taking in before that. But yeah, so far that has been helping out. Now what I plan to do is to gradually increase it by like maybe 2 or 3 grams per week to help my body adjust better. And then today, like I mentioned, we are now on week 22, and I'm currently doing 2 sessions of cardio, of steady state cardio per day. So 45 minutes in the morning after I lift, and then 30 minutes at night, or I just switch it up depending on how much time I have at the gym, because my second cardio I just do it here at home. And then I also have an added HIIT session, so I'm doing 3 HIIT sessions now per week. So what I try to do is switch things up, because my recovery is also affected by the lowering of calories. So some days, you know, I'd feel really sore on my legs, and I won't be able to do sprints properly. So what I try to do is switch it up with the battle ropes. I tried doing circuit style training, and it's just not conducive to the gym that I'm working at, because most of the time it's a jam-packed gym. I mean, it's not like really full, but most of the equipment that I would need for a circuit style of hit would be taken, so it's kind of hard to do unless I go there at like 3 a.m. or 11 at night, which is something that I can work on right now. And to be honest, a lot of the changes has been really more psychological rather than physical. I mean, if you follow me on my Instagram, then you see me doing physique updates, and you'll see some minor changes in my body, nothing drastic like a sudden drop in body fat. Well, you'll see me flashing abs or something, which is, by the way, a frustration right now because my midsection seems to be the last part that will tighten up. But yeah, so anyway, what I wanted to touch up on as well was the mental struggles that have been coming along with being on a diet for weeks on end. As you know, I'm a mom of 2 very young kids, so that in itself can be mentally draining. And then I have all of these other responsibilities as a mom, as a wife, as now an entrepreneur, and it hasn't really been the kind of challenge that I've encountered before, because now this is something that I want to stick with and I want to see it through no matter how hard or challenging it gets. But I was talking to my coach the other day and I was telling him, I've never had issues with food before. I would track, I would eat mindfully, but I've never really had like serious cravings to the point where I couldn't sleep and all I could think about was food. I'm not even fond of sweets. I mean, yes, of course I do enjoy the occasional donut or chocolate or piece of cake, but it's not something that I would crave for, like, ever. I'm more of a savory kind of girl, and I don't really have that sweet tooth. But these days, it's like eating at the back of my head. All I could think about is stuffing my face with donuts that have bacon between them, sprinkled with, I don't know, honey glaze or something. And I am becoming food obsessed, which isn't something that I enjoy. And for a while I had some binge eating issues, and I'm very happy and thankful that I was able to catch myself, also with the help of watching a lot of YouTube videos and following a lot of people who compete on a regular basis. So that's like kind of an issue that I've always been on the lookout for, because I didn't want to end up with this mentality of binging on food and then feeling guilty about it and then purging, kind of like anorexia, but I don't like force myself to vomit. Instead, the purging part is like cardioing it out to make up for the calories that I think I consumed, which in the grand scheme of things might not even matter, or it might, I don't know. Yeah, so for a while that was an issue for me, and I was getting kind of upset about it, which wasn't a good thing because the additional stress would probably increase my cortisol levels and like cause me to hold on to more fat and all of that, and it was just unnecessary mental stress. And then thinking about it stressing me out stressed me even more. So I was sure that I really had to talk to someone about it. And one of the things that I'm very grateful for is this transparency that I have developed with my coach over the course of the year that we've been working together. So anything that bothers me about dieting, about nutrition, about training, about prep, I can be open with him about it. So immediately when I realized that I was getting into this habit of worrying too much about picking on food, that I wasn't supposed to eat, I talked to him about it, and we kind of traced it to being on a more structured diet. Prior to going into prep, I was flexible dieting. You know, I'm a big advocate of flexible dieting only because it's the most sustainable way of dieting for me. Whether I'm trying to gain or maintain or lose fat, that's just what's worked best for me. And then we started getting deeper into prep, and you know, I agreed to stay in this more structured meal prep kind of plan only because of the simplicity of it. You know, when you're low on calories, you don't have a lot of energy to compute and think about all of the stuff that you want to eat, and it's much easier to just pull out food from the fridge, heat it, and then just go through your days repeating the same meals. But unconsciously, you know, I was starting to I guess miss the variety that I was used to. So that's where the binging kind of stemmed from, I guess. And it's not like other competitors where you can like go to the grocery store and then pick up food that you're allowed to eat and then stay away from the other trigger foods like chips or candies or unhealthy stuff like that. Because we have kids at home, and yes, if you're a sanctity parent, we let our kids eat junk food from time to time. Yes, they eat healthy food as well, but we don't totally forbid them from eating chips or candies or chocolates and all of that. So we have stocks of those at home, and so it's not as easy as staying away from the aisles so that you don't end up eating those foods, and then just don't buy it so you don't have it at home, so that when you crave for it, you know, it's not there, it's not within your reach. This is different because it's always gonna be within my reach, because like I said, you know, my kids enjoy these snacks once in a while. So what would happen would be, you know, I would find like an almost finished bag of chips, pick it up, and then see that, oh, there's like 3 or 4 pieces in here. I don't want to throw it out. It's just like 3 or 4 pieces, and I start eating on it, and then I would crave it all the more. And I'm talking about like serious craving, like I really want to stuff my face with chips. And this is like something that it's a behavior that I've never had before, because I was flexible dieting before, and I was able to fit those things into my daily, or not daily, I was able to fit those things once in a while when I wanted them. And getting into a more structured, more restrictive kind of meal planning wasn't optimal for me. So I did communicate that with my coach, as I mentioned, and we decided that, okay, if you want to, you know, continue to be able to eat an Oreo or fit in like a few pieces of munchkins or something, then you can do so, if that would make me more adherent to my macros, rather than, you know, staying on point with my macros and with the kinds of foods that I was prescribed with for a couple of days, and then going on like an all-out binge on the 4th or 5th day of the week. So which is, of course, that affected my progress a lot. And I think, frankly, that's one of the reasons why my progress had slowed down for a couple of weeks. And now I'm just glad that, you know, 5 weeks out from the show, that's something that we've already addressed. And I am happy to report, like I mentioned in my Instagram story earlier, I mentioned that it's something that we've addressed, and the binging has gone away. Even the cravings they have decreased dramatically since I've started doing IIFYM again. Now, obviously, you know, as my calories get lower, I would tend to to lean towards volume eating, like eating more vegetables to keep me full for longer. And also because, you know, I wouldn't want to like get a 4-cheese Whopper from Burger King, because that's like half my calories for the day, and then eat like leaves for the rest of the day. That's just not happening. That's like silly. But what I'm saying is that keeping some degree of flexibility relative to the amount of calories that I'm working with now just helps me be more adherent. And maybe that's something that you can also apply if you're currently in a fat loss phase, you know, and you're finding it hard to stick to your macros, especially if you're not used to being that low in calories. Maybe once in a while you can still try to integrate foods that you enjoy, like switching up the carbs rather than sticking to just oats for like the entire week. Maybe you can meal prep half oats, some sweet potatoes, and then maybe throw a few meals in there with like pasta or just other carb sources that you enjoy. And that will see if that will help you become more adherent, because as I mentioned also in my Instagram stories earlier today, you know, adherence keeps you consistent, and consistency helps you keep on progressing better. So yeah, that's about one of the more important learnings that I've had so far. And as the weeks come by, I promise, I really promise, and I commit to uploading even just, you know, a couple of minutes of videos to keep you guys updated on my prep, and get more useful content out. And yeah, so wish me luck 5 weeks out. After this competition, we will see how it goes, if I will still be doing other shows for the season. And yeah, so thank you guys for catching up with me and watching, and I will see you in the next video.